Gotta talk about what happened last night. Did Silvergate cause... This morning, I see on CNBC, front page, talking about fallout from Silvergate. Okay, that's a nice photo, by the way. I don't know where that got that from, but CNBC is claiming that what happened is due to Silvergate, and of course, yesterday Silvergate, well, it doesn't show anymore. Right now, they're about to open in green, but yesterday they had a 57% drop. 57%. And that's because they said, okay, we're not going to publish our annual report because it's so bad. We need more time to calculate the losses. And regulators may be looking at us soon. I mean, they're upfront about it. They disclosed it. So who do they mean by regulators? Well, not just the CFTC or SEC, but like the Department of Justice, okay? So they're actually looking at criminal things. So that's pretty bad. Oh, you can see the market bell just rung, so they have popped up a little bit. But again, they have to go up over 100% to make up for what was lost yesterday. And I don't think that's going to happen, right? And after that bombshell of a release, Coinbase, Galaxy Digital, Gemini, everyone ditched Silvergate. They all had a relationship with Silvergate, and they all said, no more. They're finding different banking partners. Okay, so that's what happened. Now, was Silvergate really behind what we saw yesterday, right? Because obviously it was like middle of the night. This was way past Silvergate or the stock market being closed, right? So was it really Silvergate? You know what? It's hard to say. You know, who knows what kind of exposure Silvergate will bring to some of these other crypto projects. These are the big ones that abandoned, but there may be smaller ones, right? And maybe Silvergate had to abandon certain projects or certain loans and had to liquidate or had to, you know, they had to force sell, right? We don't know. We don't know if they are exactly the reason, but there is another reason. There's actually a couple reasons. The other reason I talked about last night was MtGox. We are roughly 1 week away, exactly 1 week away from distribution or repayment of funds, okay, to the creditors. Now, most of the creditors, especially the big ones, are opting to take everything in Bitcoin, but there are still some that's opting to take in fiat, right? So does this have something to do with it? Is it MtGox possibly selling off some crypto ahead of time to make some funds so that they can give it back? Quite possibly, right? So we are 1 week away. Now people are speculating, is this going to cause the market to fall like it did before? This trustee, right, really didn't know what he was doing before and sold off a ton of Bitcoin back in 2018. And many people argue that's why we fell to 3,000. We were hovering at 6,000 for a very long time. And then, boom, down to 3,000. And there's been correlations of when he was selling. And that last one was also like right around when he was selling a lot. So this time around, he does not need to be selling all that much because, again, most people are opting to receive Bitcoin rather than cash. And that is why there's many people that think, including banks, that think that the repayments are unlikely to destabilize Bitcoin, but can cause short-term volatility, right? Because there will be some selling. And some people that do opt to get Bitcoin may be selling too, right? So there will be a little bit of volatility, probably, but is it likely to destabilize Bitcoin altogether like what happened in 2018? Probably not, right? But maybe the combination of the two, right? Something happened yesterday that caused this, okay? I mean, just look at it. Right afterwards, right beforehand, basically no liquidations. And then you have $200 million worth of longs liquidated. It almost seems like it was done on purpose just to wipe out the longs, right? I mean, there's really nothing before or afterwards, just that. So, if FTX was around, I would say, hey, did SBF just do it on purpose just to wipe out all the longs and counter trade the market? But, you know, FTX is not around anymore unless SBF sitting in his parents' basement triggered it somehow with some funds that he didn't disclose. I don't know. But this almost seems like it was done on purpose. But here's the thing. Here's the good thing out of this. So this is looking at the futures perpetual funding rate, okay? So this measures if there's a premium on the long side or the negative side, okay? And right now, you can see it. You can see it. On the very right-hand side toward the bottom, you can see the funding rate has turned negative. That means it's actually really cheap to go long because of this long liquidation, right? So what does that mean? Well, look at the previous times. This goes all the way back to the beginning of the year. All the previous times when the funding rate turned red, what happened afterwards? Well, you could see we had some pretty good climbs afterwards, right, for Bitcoin. So could this be a giant bear trap? Could this also be done on purpose to make people think that Bitcoin is about to fall, but when in reality, we are actually about to pump to a new high? Well, it happened in February, you know, just 2 weeks prior, we saw something like that happen. Bitcoin fell down to nearly 21,000 and then boom, we shot up to 25,000, right? And it happened in January also. So that's the good thing. Does not necessarily mean that what we saw yesterday was bad. In fact, it could be a giant bear trap to trap the bears, to open their shorts, okay, their leveraged shorts, only to be short squeezed in the future and maybe pumping us up to $30,000. That's a possibility. That is definitely a possibility. And if you're still looking at what's happening now versus, say, previous cycles like 2013, did yesterday invalidate things? No. In fact, it made things more similar. Because in 2019, before we started recovering upwards, you could see that higher HH, right? We actually fell down, right? You would not notice it unless you lived through it or you're zooming in, right? But look at it. We had a lower high and a higher high, right? And both times, Bitcoin fell down, hit that trend line, right? And eventually, it broke out and continued forward, right? And look at what has happened right now. Same thing. We had a lower high and a higher high, both times falling. Does that mean we are getting ready to head higher, just like 2019, and just like everything else I've just said, right? This bear trap and all. It's still looking good. It's still looking good. Very good. Very good indeed. So here's another view of it. That increasing, trend line, the bottom, higher lows, right? And if we break through that 25.2, which is also a very important resistance, not because we couldn't break it a couple of times, but it's also one of the moving averages. So if we break through, can we see something like this? Yes, very, very possible.